So Dean, I've decided that I want to hire a lawyer, but I'm not sure the best way to do it. I want to speak to probably 3 different lawyers, and I just want to compare them and then ideally pick one of them. So how should I go about it?
Well, as you know, there's Google, there's Yelp, there's Clearway. That's now created a whole new market in specific, which I think is great. So you want to get access to a bunch of them. Then you want to be able to kind of separate what your issue is from just lawyers. So in Canada, there's solicitors and barristers and litigators. In our system, a lawyer is everything.
Right.
In England, you're a barrister, you're a solicitor, totally different.
They can do contracts, they can go to court and argue.
Yes, that's what that is. Yes, you're right. And so just to be clear, that's what, so a solicitor is more of the kind of creating businesses, doing the contracts, reviewing the contracts, and litigator goes to court. But in our jurisdiction and in Canada, you can do both.
Right.
So you want to be sure you're not hiring, you're getting sued or you want to sue someone, you don't necessarily want to hire a solicitor that's never done that.
Sure.
Right? So the first thing you kind of want to do is figure out the area of law. And that can be difficult because you might think it's employment, but it might be human rights. You might think it's, I get situations sometimes where somebody comes to me and it's an ex-spouse / partner, but really the issue is contractual. It was a business deal they did together. So they might think I want a divorce lawyer, but it's actually just a kind of regular run-of-the-mill commercial litigator.
Right.
So that can be difficult. I would suggest, and I do this for other things in my life when I'm looking into, is try and make your search as specific with good keywords as possible. So you're getting in the realm that you want, right? And then you want to see what reviews, are the reviews really bad? And to be fair, I think we all have experience with sometimes bad reviews that are so ridiculous, they're angry at that person. And then you also have good reviews that are so ridiculous, they're best friends of that person. Right?
Or themselves.
Yeah, or themselves, or who knows, right? And I've seen that in the other worlds. Yeah, Amazon, Google, so,
right.
You want to make sure that you want to put some effort into that, I think. But then I guess once you find the area, then you want to look at, there's some budgetary issues. So there's some huge international law firms. They're expensive. They're great. They're expensive.
Right.
You want to get a sense of what your budget is. So I would say you should also have an idea of what you can afford. And at least for the retainer. The retainer is the deposit that kind of gets things going.
And what's common for a retainer?
Well, so I would say a retainer averages about $1,000 to $5,000, at least for me anyways.
Right.
And the difference really is this a one-off thing I can help you with? Or are we now working together for a year on this?
Right.
So if it's a lawsuit, you want to start a lawsuit, the retainer is the drafting is the first step, but that's the first step of many.
Right.
And once you start a lawsuit, you're in the lawsuit.
And the other side can do things to you that you weren't even planning. Like they can file an application and now you're involved in responding to that, even though you hadn't originally budgeted for that.
100%. So sometimes, if you want to start a lawsuit, it's very difficult when someone comes to me and says, what's that going to cost? I ask as many questions as I can. Unfortunately, the X factor in that situation is the other side. You just hit the nail on the head.
And the courts as well.
And the courts, and I've unfortunately had to go into court sometimes, and there's, in some instances, no judges. I had a trial just before COVID hit. The week before, we were gearing up, preparing for trial. COVID hits, courts are closed.
Right.
People get sick, stuff happens. And that's not even accounting the other side's intention of trying to just, make your case as expensive as possible.
Right.
Sometimes people do that as well. So what I try to do is break it down into pieces as best I can, give them a sense of what they're in for. The difficulty is if you're being sued, you don't really have a lot of choices. Your choice is do it on your own and then get a lawyer that maybe is the cheapest lawyer, but not a great lawyer with a lot of experience, or get a lawyer that you feel comfortable with that, you wish you didn't have to pay as much as you do, but you have to pay, and it's money well spent because often lawyers that put the effort in and have the right attitude can try to settle things, so that's important. And also don't waste time because they kind of know
the
what
best path.
the best path.
Yeah, even though it's not known, but it's
Yes, or even how to
likely.
shut down some other silliness on the other
Right,
side,
right.
or how not to waste time. On, like you said, if someone files an application, okay, look, there's no merit to that.
Right.
We can send a junior to deal with that.
Right.
Or we can, be aggressive and say, look, what, if you guys do to continue to do this, these are the reasons that you're not going to be successful, and
Seek
we're going to
costs.
seek special
Yeah.
costs and stuff like that. So there's times to do that. There's times, and unfortunately, there's other times there's just nothing you can do.
Right.
It's just, if someone is willing to lie and be deceitful to the court, it just extends things. It takes longer. The court system is dependent on certain things, people following certain rules, people not lying at court, not lying on affidavits. Those things, I will say, eventually come out, but way more expensive.
Mm.
Way more expensive. It takes just time.